intercall, please enter your conference code followed by the pound or hash sign. Thank you. After the tone, state your name followed by the pound or hash sign. Thank you. Please wait for your conference to begin. You will now be placed into conference.
Yeah. The special effects we have.
Which building?
Well, all they do is if you go to the they have the phone that they verify it.
We have a form. I mean, like we have one that we sent to last year. As much as the main does, they've already done over half the thing.
The leader has muted your line. To unmute your line, press pound 6.
Good afternoon. This is Roger Erickson with the National Weather Service in Lake Charles. I've muted all the phone lines right now. We'll unmute it at the end to see if there's any questions. We're going to start off the conference call with our second slide on potential Tropical Cyclone 2. Really, there's no big significant changes in the overview. The only change that we got going on is we do have a hurricane watch out now in effect for Cameron, Vermilion, Iberia, and St. Mary parishes. The hurricane threat is still increasing for our entire forecast area, but the exact timing, location, intensity, specific threats is still developing. So everyone needs to be prepared for hurricane force winds on Saturday and tropical storm force winds on Friday. We're still looking at 10 to 15 inches of rain totals for the event along into the right of the path of the storm, and that will result in significant flooding. Storm surge can be significant as well for coastal areas, depending on the strength of the storm, and isolated tornadoes will be a threat as well Friday into the weekend. Our next slide that we got on here is kind of a table that shows the different hazards and the impacts. So for the wind hazard, we're talking about what locations are highest threat. Basically, Cameron, Acadia, Allen Parish, eastward is the threat for the highest winds right now, and may end up being shifted a little bit further west into Calcasieu as well, or Beauregard. But, the latest forecast track still has it along that area to the east. And the timing of the highest wind still looks to be Saturday evening into early Sunday morning. From the storm surge perspective, Cameron, Vermilion, Iberia, St. Mary Parish is obviously the highest threat. They're the parishes along the coast. But there will be water backing up into Calcasieu Parish and Jeff Davis Parish as well, down by Lake Arthur and Jeff Davis, here in Calcasieu Parish and in Lake Charles. Over in Acadia Parish, the different bayous that extend up out of the south will also be flooding as well from the storm surge. And over there to the east, the Vermilion River will also be backing up. The timing for all that will be Friday night into Sunday. The rainfall threat for flash flooding can literally be anywhere in the area, southwest Louisiana, south central, and central, Friday through Sunday. The tornado threat is really Friday through Sunday as well. Our next slide shows the forecast track, and really no significant change here. Perhaps a slight fast in terms of landfall projections, you can see 1 p.m. Saturday there, right along the coast, near the Cameron-Vermilion line, as a Category 1 hurricane, borderline Category 2 hurricane. So that's what we're looking at right now for landfall, but you notice the cone on here still extends all the way over to Galveston to the west and all the way over towards Grand Isle to the east. So this isn't a situation that we know for certain that's going to come into Louisiana. This is very similar, like I said earlier, to the Hurricane Gustav scenario, where we believe it's going to curve to the right and go into Louisiana, but if it doesn't turn to the right, this is going to be a threat for southeast Texas as well. So at this stage, we can't say southeast Texas is out of any threat at this point. You do see the 1 p.m. Sunday forecast point up in central Louisiana, and they have it downgraded by then to a tropical storm, but we are looking at a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane at landfall, and that hurricane strength winds will probably extend north of I-10 corridor, probably up to the 190 corridor as this event unfolds on Saturday night. The next slide shows the different threat impacts. You can see wind, surge, and rainfall are all the high threats that we're looking at. Tornadoes is a lower threat. The confidence level is low, not because I don't think these are going to happen. It's on the lower side because I don't know specifically which parishes or which counties are going to get impacted by it yet. It's still a little bit early on that. So we'll be updating that as we go through the event to give you an idea on our confidence level of the forecast. The next slide is the satellite imagery, and it's the infrared satellite imagery. So you can see the higher cloud tops indicated by the orange and reds on there. So you can see bands of thunderstorms from south central Louisiana extending up towards east of Baton Rouge and the Mississippi. That's one of the rain bands associated with this system. Another one that starts in southeast Louisiana, curls down into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's some, significant strengthening in terms of organization, I should say, of the system from a satellite perspective. But the hurricane plane flew out there and said that there's no stronger winds yet with the system. So it's not a tropical depression yet, still a tropical low pressure area. They're calling it 30 miles an hour for the strength right now. The forecast for the tropical storm force winds has not changed from this morning. You can still see very high values across the entire area, and that 60 to 70 percentile range still goes into southeast Texas because of the uncertainty of the forecast track. So even though right now we're saying a landfall in Louisiana, we still have to give it the respect it deserves and say that we still got the threat to allow that to occur in southeast Texas as well. Oops, let me see what I did here. All right, so someone has taken over the conference call accidentally. Brian Robin, Mazzara, you can turn it back over to me. There we go, thank you. All right, so the next slide shows the hurricane force winds, and this is also the same graphic that we had earlier. Once again, still showing southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana as the threat zone for hurricane force winds. The timing hasn't changed significantly either. We're still looking at earliest scenario, 8 a.m. for southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana, Thursday evening for south central Louisiana. More likely scenario would be Saturday morning for southwest Louisiana and Friday night for south central Louisiana. This graphic here is a little bit different, showing some of the storm surge possibilities. The orange shade on here is over 3 feet of storm surge. In general, you can see the threat from Cameron Parish eastward. Don't get in the nitty-gritty in terms of looking at specific details on here because this is a low-resolution graphic, but I wanted to give you guys something to look at. But in terms of storm surge projections, this is the area where we would anticipate in orange where we would see a storm surge watch come out. We don't have one yet, but more than likely that will come out tomorrow morning for Cameron, Vermilion, Iberia, St. Mary parishes, and we may have to extend it into portions of Calcasieu, Jeff Davis, or Acadia Parish as well. The rainfall graphic is very similar. You can see a 15-inch bullseye now along the Vermilion Parish line extending out into the Gulf of Mexico, so a little bit higher rain totals for where this thing is making landfall slightly to the east. The red outline is 10 to 15 inches, so that's covering portions of southwest Louisiana all the way over to south central Louisiana and extending up into central Louisiana as well. So this is going to be a big rain event for a large section of our forecast area. The tornado threat, this is a threat for Friday, showing it basically the 190 corridor southward. The threat for Saturday and Sunday will extend all the way to the north as the system is making landfall and moving inland. So our summary sheet, we've still got the low confidence from timing and location purposes, but we got moderate confidence that the event's going to occur and that there's going to be actual impact occurring to it. So we got wind gusts of 75 to 100 miles an hour expected, mainly along and south of the I-10 corridor in southwest and south central Louisiana, depending on the exact location of landfall. Storm surge flooding is expected for Cameron, Vermilion, Iberia, St. Mary parishes. It will back up the rivers into portions of Calcasieu, Jeff Davis, Acadia parishes as well. Rainfall flooding is going to be occurring in a large spread area along and to the right of the storm path. Isolated tornadoes everywhere, and of course the marine conditions will be terrible as well. Our final slide here is just a repeat of the opening slide talking about the hurricane threat. The hurricane watch is in effect for Cameron, Vermilion, Iberia, St. Mary parishes, where we're still looking at a question mark of the exact timing and location for where the storm is going to make landfall, as well as exactly how strong the storm will be. Will it be a Category 1, Category 2, or stronger or weaker? We're still monitoring that very closely as well. So stay tuned for that update as well. We're telling everyone to be prepared for hurricane force winds starting Saturday, tropical storm force winds starting Friday, rain totals of 10 to 15 inches, storm surge. Right now we're saying over 3 feet for coastal parishes and isolated tornadoes. We'll do another slide share like this tomorrow morning at 10:30 in the morning. The phone line so you're